Hey, how you doing? So this is in response to RennFaire Fund's tarot reading. He was curious my thoughts on what he had to say, and there is absolutely a correlation within this full moon that is lining up exactly with what you're talking about, and that is in this mystic rectangle and grand trine that Venus is tied up in, and what I was briefly touching on in my initial full moon video. So you have Venus here. It's not quite close enough to be making the mystic rectangle and grand trine aspect yet. Like I mentioned in my previous video, it's showing up in the chart I generated here, but the orb is too wide. So this isn't going to be for another couple of days before it starts truly connecting with Uranus and Saturn conjunct Neptune and Pluto. It's close enough to interact with Jupiter and Saturn, but that's it. At least as far as what the orbs I choose to use. But anyways, look at this. When it is close enough to make that connection, we have Venus in Virgo. Venus, our possessions, our money. And it is sextiling Jupiter in Cancer. And so that is a good, that does recognize that we have in abundance of money, but opposing Saturn conjunct Neptune, Saturn Pisces, Neptune Aries, we are not using it correctly. And also with Saturn conjunct Neptune, it is being stolen from us. It is being used in such a way that it is being taken from us. And then that trine Pluto in Aquarius is the drastic change favoring the people over the government, because that's Aquarius. Aquarius is represents society. It represents the water bearer providing to everybody in the manner it sees as fair, versus where Pluto was in Capricorn, which would have been more focused on businesses and status being obtained by the few. So as Pluto went from Capricorn to Aquarius, it's that shift from the few having everything to the many. And just like back in the 1700s, when last time Pluto went from Capricorn to Aquarius, that was the American Revolution, that was the French Revolution. So this is kind of what this deals with. Pluto's in retrograde right now, but not for long. Pluto in just like the next week or so, I believe, is going to be going direct again. So that's pretty relevant here. That's going to be while Venus is in range to make this grand trine in this mystic rectangle. So that is not a mistake. So that is a massive shift coming that is related to our money, what we have of it, and what good we can do with it, versus the manipulative ways in which it is being taken from us. So now we have Jupiter in Cancer, ruled by the moon, squaring the sun. So that's a pretty big deal. And it's also being ruled by the moon. Moon in Aries, what we need to do. So in my video, I was talking about how, and I tried to not get political. I'm trying to not be so political anymore, because I think that turned a lot of people off. So I'm trying to step away from that for a little bit. But you guys, let me know what you want to hear, because if I'm wrong in that assumption and people want to hear more about my thoughts on that sort of stuff, let me know. But anyways, that's not important. In my previous video, I was speaking more to the individual, talking about how this full moon is manifesting and taking your power back and choosing yourself over allowing yourself to be used by others. And so let's put that on a global scale. And we see that that is a major decision being made. So could that correlate to this? It seems pretty fitting to me with what Ren was saying. And like I said, Mercury, that is also playing a massive role in this chart. That's communication. That's how this is being talking about. Mercury just shifting from Libra to Scorpio, moving out of that sphere of fairness and into how can we manipulate and take this for ourselves. There's that yod to Uranus and to Saturn conjunct Neptune, choosing between the change that needs to be happened, change of how we communicate about it, and the lies being used to maintain the status quo, which is how Saturn conjunct Neptune always seems to be getting interpreted as by me when I look at things on a more political scale. The answer to that, and also the T-square between Pluto and Jupiter, again, that connection to that plenty and that massive change that needs to happen with that plenty. The opposition to Mercury, which is where the answer for that T-square and that yod is Chiron. Chiron in retrograde, talking about how we need to heal ourselves, making the decision on how we heal ourselves. The next transit Moon will make is on that Chiron, right after this full moon. So I mentioned in that previous video, that is that decision coming quickly. And then right after that will be when Venus is making this aspect, this grand trine and this mystic rectangle. And so ultimately it does seem like our finances and how we are spending them, how they are being taken from us, how they are not. What is this tying into? How about the government shutdown over one side refusing to discuss the massive increase in health insurance and the other side trying to make it happen? And there's a fight about this. The majority doesn't want to have the government open because they want the Democrats to fold. They want the Democrats to sign what they need to sign so they can move past this filibuster, so they can have what they want, and then they'll negotiate. But the Democrats are saying no, because there's no guarantee you'll actually do what you're saying after you get what you want. The Republicans said, oh yeah, well then we'll just start firing people until you sign. Democrats said, what does that matter? You've been firing people anyways, so this is an empty threat. We refuse to back down from this. We want the health insurance to be negotiated so the premiums aren't jacked up extremely high very, very soon because of this bill they passed. And so that's where the government is right now. Does that not line up perfectly with what we're talking about? So perhaps with this full moon that we're seeing tomorrow, there will be some notable event connected to that globally. And to bring it all back, that is Venus in Virgo, planning what we need to do with our money. And then what is Virgo ruled by? Mercury, the main focus of that yod and that T-square. It is all lining up exactly to how RennFaire described it in his tarot reading. So major kudos to you, man. That lines up perfectly with exactly what I said in my previous reading. I haven't changed anything about that reading I did earlier this morning. I only put it in the scope of the political sphere, which was more focused on what Ren had done his reading on. Another thing I can do, I've not done this yet, purely out of just never having a plan last more than 3 seconds in my head. If I don't do it right when I think about it, I just don't do it. So another thing I can do, if you're interested, is I can now take this full moon transit, put it in comparison to the natal chart for America itself, which I have not done yet. But that is something that is good to do when you're talking about a nation and what a nation is deciding, is to look at the natal chart for America. So that could be what I do next if this interests you and you want to see it. And that's about all the time I have. So hope that this was entertaining. This was very exciting for me. I couldn't even wait till I was out of my car to talk about it. So yeah, check out RennFaire. He is amazing. One of the best tarot readers I've ever seen. And yep, talk to you later. Bye-bye.